Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing grand. Today is kind of a bit of a story time for you. I'm probably going to cry a lot. I can already feel that I'm going to cry. As you can see, I've got some balloons behind me. So basically, I'm going to tell you what I've actually been hiding from you for a little while now. I'm still not fully come to terms with it. It's a lot of information that I've been given and continued to be given, and I'm still trying to figure out things and whatnot, but I thought you guys should at least know why uploads are kind of sparse every now and then, and why I'm not always posting on Instagram or I'm on Twitter and stuff like that. I just thought you guys actually deserve to know what's going on. So this week, the 17th to the 23rd of June, is Rheumatoid Arthritis Awareness Week. And I have some balloons. I ordered a pack, so I'm going to tell you more about that. So you're probably thinking, wait, you're so young, why are you talking about arthritis? Well, I currently have two conditions that really prevent me from doing a lot of things. The first one I'm going to talk about is rheumatoid arthritis, because it is that awareness week, but I will touch on base with the other one, and then eventually I will do another video explaining more about that condition and how the two are aggressive against each other. So yeah, I feel like my glasses are dirty. So basically, as you can see behind me, I have a week balloon and a National Rheumatoid Arthritis Society, which I am a member of. I signed up for this pack because it's a fundraising pack that I signed up for, but it has a lot of information, and there's a lot of information online that's very conflicting or confusing, and I wanted to give you guys it in the most simplest way, because even to me it's mind-blowing. Get a letter from them if you want to do any sort of fundraising and you want this pack. I'll leave it down below. That is a piece of paper. I was diagnosed at 25 years old. I'm now 27, so I've been having this nearly for 18 months. So let's rewind back to 2 years ago. So that was what, 2017. I currently changed my career. I went from working in retail to working for a call centre, and I'd never done a sit down job before. From 16 to 25 I had always worked in retail, so I was always standing, grafting, doing what you've got to do in retail. You don't really get a chance to sit down, even sometimes on your lunch. So after that, I thought it was time for a career change. I wanted my weekends back as I was getting older, and I just was kind of like, I want my weekends. So it was simple. I started looking around. I'd done other jobs in the education section, so I was looking at that. And I changed my career to work in this call centre. And at the time, I was really into fitness and getting into shape and stuff. I was doing boxercise, and my hands started really hurting, just really agonising pain. And I thought nothing of it. I thought it's because I'm typing, I'm sat at a desk, I'm boxing, I'm doing a bit more strenuous work with them than I would have in retail, if that makes sense. So I then was like, okay, 3 weeks, I think it was 2.5, 3 weeks passed. I was like, right, go to the doctor, there's something not right. So I went to my local GP. I seen a doctor and they just basically said it's repetitive strain, you're obviously doing too much, lay off the boxing and try and take it easier at work. Try and see if you can go on a bit lighter duty for the meantime. So I followed those instructions. I took the ibuprofen, and another 2.5 weeks went past and they said to me if it weren't better in 2 weeks, get back in contact. I'm just gonna put my phone on silent because that wasn't good. Sorry about that. So I then went back to the doctor. This was probably about 3 weeks later by the time I'd got an appointment, and he then said to me, oh, okay, maybe it's just a bit more than, like, he said it's obviously repetitive strain. I saw another 3 to 4 doctors in a 4-week period after the previous 5 or 6 weeks that I just said. So I was continuously like, no, this is really, really painful. My hands just aren't, they're like on fire. They're constantly in pain. You know, it wasn't just like typing, it was the joints, then my wrists were feeling it. I then got to see an amazing doctor that is so popular at my GP. Basically, my doctor's is probably, I don't know if this is normal for a lot of doctors' surgeries, but I have a doctor's and there's probably about 15 to 16 doctors that work there. So you basically get an appointment with who you can get an appointment with. And at the time I was trying my hardest to see my normal doctor, but because he's so popular, it's so hard to get an appointment with him. And I managed to get a cancellation. I took a half a day from work and I went and had my lunch, and then I went over to my doctor's because luckily it was only across the road from where I worked at the time. So then I went to see him and he turned around to me and he said, you're being fobbed off. He took one look at my hands, he felt all around them, all on the sides of them. He tried me to do some like exercises of like pushing and pulling, and he said to me, you've got to go to hospital, we need to get these scanned, this isn't right. And he said, I put a bet on it now, it's rheumatoid arthritis. And I was like, it's what? Like, in my head I was like, old people have arthritis, you know. I'd never heard of rheumatoid, and I was like, wait, what? And he said, if it's that, everything in your life is going to change. So as being a young 25-year-old woman thinking, wait, what's going on here? I don't want to cry. It scared me. It really did. So I went to the hospital that day. I had scans. I had a full body scan. I had x-rays on my hands. I then went for a MRI, the scan, I can't remember the name of that one, and I waited for my results. They took a few days to get back to me, and my doctor rang me and said, I have your results, you need to come in. I also had a blood test while I was with my GP before I was referred to the hospital. So I ended up going in and I just had this sinking feeling in my stomach, and I just was like, this is gonna be what he said it is. And the way his tone was on the phone was kind of like he knew something else. So I was petrified. I already have an eye condition which, you know, concerns me as it is. So having another condition really was kind of like, wait, like, I don't know how I'm gonna cope with this. So I remember walking into his room, he sat me down and he said, like, you went and had the scans and everything, I've got all the results, we need to talk. And I said, okay, get it over with, you know, let's deal with this. And he said to me, like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, thinking in my head, like, I've had MRI scans and all sorts, like, have you found something else? Like, is it something so much more serious? Like, I remember just my chest feeling so tight and being like, he's gonna tell me that there's something else, and how am I gonna cope with this? Like, I'm not ready to hear this. And he said to me, it is rheumatoid arthritis. But and that silence, like, killed me for a second. He was like, it's not just in your hands at this point. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, it's been left far too long for us to have given you medication to have prevented it happening this quick. So it was always going to happen, but not this quickly. And I remember just thinking, what? Are you sure? And he said, yeah, it's in all of your main joints. So my hands, my elbows, my shoulders, my hips, you get the gist. And I remember just being like, so what does this mean? And he was like, we're going to have to medicate you. You're going to have to go for several tests. We're going to have to try and see if we can get you some physiotherapy to help, like, deal with things. And I remember just being like, is this a daze? You have one of those moments where someone's just talking to you, but you just zone out and you just can't hear anything, and you're like, what? And he said, have you experienced any tiredness lately, and rough sleeping, fatigue, sickness, or, you know, struggling to get up in the morning? And I was like, yeah, but I just thought it was because I'd gone from doing a job of such hard work to basically being sat at a desk, and my body was just like, oh, I need to get used to this. And he said, no, they're symptoms. So I left the doctors that day with a medication called amitriptyline. I wasn't on that medication for very long. Amitriptyline is also an antidepressant, but I was told that amitriptyline, they noticed years ago that people with pain, and they were putting them on this for depression, it was actually blocking out the pain. So it's now used as both a pain reliever and an antidepressant. So I was put on this for the pain reason. I then went and seen a specialist. Didn't have her for long. She was only there for probably like 2 of my visits, which were like every like 2 months at the time when I started seeing her. So I saw this doctor, and she gave me more of a specialist rundown on what's going to happen, what is happening to my body. So I saw her and she examined me, and she said, yes, the GP is right, you know, your life is about to take a whole 360. And I was like, why do I keep saying this to me? And at the time I was too scared to Google or look online, and I always feel like when you Google something it makes everything 10 times worse. So I didn't want to do anything. She gave me a leaflet and I was like, right, okay, yeah, I'll look at it. But I was just too scared to admit it to myself. And as the weeks went by, I was struggling, and I had to leave my job at the call centre because I was finding that I was spending more time in doctors and hospitals than I was in work. So I decided that I was going to leave work just temporarily, because my workplace were really understanding. They said to me, go off sick. So I went off sick, and my job was still safe, like it was still there. We just wanted to know more of a clearer view on what was going on with me and my health. And obviously working in a call centre, they didn't know if it was going to be good for me anymore. So they still kept my position available. It was still there for me to go back to, but I just needed to sort myself out. After back and forth of hospitals and stuff, we are now here, which is 2019, and I'm telling you guys, I am currently on a lot of medication, and I mean a lot of medication. I'm on like 12 tablets a day for my condition. Very, very scary because there's so many other things with it. I basically have a vitamin D deficiency now, which they always think has been underlined before I was diagnosed with this. I also have a stomach condition, and because of all the medication that I take, nobody gave me a tablet which I didn't know about, and I should have been on another medication that should have protected my stomach because of how strong the painkillers are that I'm on. So I now basically have a condition that is called gastroparesis. Basically my stomach has become damaged that it no longer wants to work. So a part of my stomach is now paralysed. So I find it very, very difficult. That it's a lot of pain, it's a lot of change with food. It's very difficult. I have good days and bad days with it, as I do with my arthritis. So yeah, and I also have another condition which is called fibromyalgia. Some of you will know this condition because Lady Gaga has it. So if you watch, I think it's her first documentary that she did, you will see that she's in agonizing pain. So I am continuously in pain, even just sat here talking to you guys now, even being medicated. I am still in pain, whether it's the fibro or whether it's the arthritis. Either one of them, they don't like each other, and they're like an aggressive form, and they both just go like this, and it just doesn't get on with each other. I will go more into my fibromyalgia story in another story time. I'll tell you a bit of information about rheumatoid arthritis. And yeah, I've had to change my whole diet because things I eat are a trigger for it. I've had to stop exercise so vigorously every single day, you know. So the population, just, it says with a long-term condition there is 400,000 people with rheumatoid arthritis in the UK. I have joined many a group. If you're a new person that has just been diagnosed, and you know, I never knew where to look for information, so Facebook is a great tool when it comes to things like this. So I joined many a group. I just would say, like, there's like rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia groups, but everybody posts in it. Make sure that you put UK though, because there is a lot of American groups and the medication's different. So if somebody asks somebody about a medication that they're on and the dosage and stuff, I don't want you to be like confused and stuff, be like I was. Make sure you check out the National Rheumatoid Arthritis Society. They do monthly, I believe it's monthly newsletters and stuff, and they keep you up to date with all the great work that they're doing through medication and stuff. Osteoarthritis is mainly the restrictions to joints wear and tear. Rheumatoid is a meaning. I can't talk. This is another thing as well, like, you'll pick up things, like I'll explain this in a minute. So it's basically to do with the autoimmune condition. So genuinely affects older people with osteo, can affect any age. And I never knew that the rheumatoid arthritis was a thing, like I said earlier. And I met people in these groups, and there is a lot of younger women that have been diagnosed. It mainly seems to be women, what my doctors told me. Like, it's not that men can get it, but it seems to be a woman thing. And it seems to be, if you've got it in your family, you can inherit it. There's nobody in my family with this condition, so I'm just rare, I guess. All my doctors that I've met are always kind of like, you're so young, like, this is crazy. Osteo is pain restricted to affect joints. Rheumatoid can be the whole body in pain. Osteo usually is a steady progressive joint pain. Rheumatoid is genuinely in joints plus numerous other symptoms. Osteo treated. Rheumatoid treatment is often complex. So as you can see here, there is diagrams. So I have to have like everything in this picture pretty much, and I will go into that. Osteo stiffness genuinely occurs later in the day. Rheumatoid morning stiffness can last at least 1 hour. Osteo is not classed as a medical emergency. Rheumatoid suspect inflammatory arthritis like RA is classed as a medical emergency. I am, touch wood, lucky enough to have not been taken into hospital yet. What is rheumatoid arthritis? 1% of UK adult population, 400,000 people live with rheumatoid arthritis. Arthritis is a progressive, incurable autoimmune condition. Symptoms are hot, swollen, severe, painful joints, joint stiffness, especially in the morning, fatigue and flu-like symptoms. RA, right, actually, before I carry on, you will notice that a lot with me, I always sound like I have a cold. Always, like, I wake up with such a sore throat, my nose is bunged, I'm always like, ugh, I sound like I've got a cold, and then it will just pass. So that can be quite annoying. My hands and my body burn up non-stop, and they're stiff. RA can lead to irreversible joint damage and disability if untreated or inadequately treated. That is another thing, like, I can't get my words out, so I will struggle. Like, if I don't sleep, which I go through a lot of this, I go through days like where I get like 20 minutes sleep a day or an hour, and bearing in mind there's 24 hours in a day, and you're tired, you're in pain, you just can't sleep, you're uncomfortable, you wake up with hot sweats some days. I mean, it's really not a nice thing to go through. Rheumatoid arthritis can affect far more than just joints. It can affect the heart, eyes and lungs. So I already have an eye condition, and it's definitely affecting that. I have to have special medication now, so my eyes dry so much now because of that, and I think that is a fibromyalgia trigger as well. So yeah, and I have to be careful with the medication that I'm on because a lot of it can give you cataracts, and I've obviously already had cataracts. So yeah, it's very difficult. Most common age of onset rheumatoid arthritis is between the age of 40 and 60 years old, but the earlier onset has been as young as 14 years old. So I've only had this pain for 2 years, and it's difficult. I mean, I push through as much as I can. Some days it's just more difficult than others, but I can't imagine being a 14-year-old girl, and going through so many hormonal changes and then having to deal with something like this, it's quite full on. While there is still no cure, if diagnosed and treated adequately, people are expected to live a full and active life due to the advances in the NRAS treatment. The National Rheumatoid Arthritis Society is only patient-led charity in the UK focusing specifically on RA and is dedicating to changing minds, changing services and changing lives for those with rheumatoid arthritis. I will leave all of these links down below if you are concerned or want to look into this more, a bit more about things that like I have to like go through. So my hands are burning at the minute and I'm in pain. If I lean my elbows onto a table, I'm in pain. If I lie down for too long, I get really uncomfortable. If I sit for too long, I'm uncomfortable. If I walk for too long, I'm uncomfortable. It's really frustrating situation to be in. I am sick most days. So basically it's a full-on condition, and I never realised it was going to be this full-on. It's difficult. It really is difficult, but I've learned to love myself in the process. I've learned to not take crap from anyone anymore. I've learned to be stronger, definitely. I've know who my true friends are. Let this condition ruin my life. I won't let this condition rule my life. Yeah, it may take a day away from me, but it doesn't mean I can't sit there in bed and do something productive, like editing these videos, making more content. I'm going to turn this negative into a positive in every way I can with this condition. So yeah, I don't want this to win. I won't let it win. I just take every day now as it comes. So yeah, I hope that, you know, this has been as informative as I'd like to have been. If you want to know more about it, I will do like a Q&A. If you send me questions on my Instagram or on my Twitter, and I'll leave them all links down below anyway in my socials. Or if you leave a comment down below and let me know a question that you've got for me, it's about my stomach or if it's about fibro, then I am happy to answer it. I hope that if you're somebody that's just being diagnosed and you didn't know about any of the things that I've discussed, or you didn't realise that there is a place that you can go to, or you know, the Facebook groups are amazing. Make sure you put UK like I said. I'll film my fibro video at some point in the next week, and yeah, I'll get that up as soon as possible. And like I said, I'll leave all links down below. But until next time, bye guys.